pegging, jizz. America is a bad country. Just warming up for the episode.
Your vocal warm-ups.
Yeah, getting my
remarks,
my runs.
Like do, re, mi, fa, sol, lo.
Yeah.
Come
D's
jizz.
nuts.
Come jizz, peg, D's nuts.
Yeah.
America, bad.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
I hate Spencer Cox. I hate Spencer Cox.
There you go.
That was good.
That was good. Yeah,
I feel ready. Really,
it was giving. It was giving that like one viral TikTok that was big like 3 months ago, where it's like SpongeBob, Squidward, Patrick.
God, that was so great.
That had our specifically our friend group. Mm-hmm. Like it had us in a stranglehold.
Yeah, a gorilla grip, if you will.
Truly. Woo! So this right here.
Right here
is
my pretty boy swag.
Well, it's that first and foremost.
Yeah.
But secondly, it is Remarks, the podcast.
True.
The only podcast. That's it.
Yeah. The only podcast that mentions cum, jizz, and pegging all in one episode.
But every episode, too.
But exactly. Specifically every single episode.
Like, we can make a little, like, Where's Waldo game where, like, if you spot the cum in the episode, if you listen really close and you can hear, like, me whisper cum very quiet.
Yeah.
Like, really quietly. If you spot it and you give us the timestamp, you win the game.
Yep.
You
win the game. Congratulations.
My name's Taylor.
I'm Phoebe.
Do you want to take it away today? Want to take away with the
sure.
thing? Unless you had other things to talk about, but
nothing that I can think of in this second. So, yeah, I will take it away. So we are going to be talking about street art. Oh shit! Yeah, it's an art of the revolution.
Oh yeah,
you heard that based on the intro.
You heard the intro. You know,
you knew. You had an idea of what you were getting yourself into.
Truly.
Yeah. So we're just going to talk about like street art, graffiti, and like why is it sick and toy. So Taylor, when you walk around downtown Salt Lake,
yes,
do you feel like you have like tags that you remember seeing?
Honest, I feel like the honest answer is no, not really.
Okay, that's fine. You can be honest. I feel like there's something that I like drive and walk past every single day. And they kind of tend to blend into the background because I'm just so used to seeing them.
Yeah.
But when I was sitting here like writing my thing, and I was like recalling tags that I can think of or that I've seen in the city, I can literally think of like a few off the top of my head. So I wonder if you've seen these ones.
Okay, yeah.
One of my favorites that I've been seeing around my neighborhood specifically is all caps milk bird ! Have you seen milk bird around?
I feel like I maybe have seen it in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorites. I've also seen gelato all over the place. Fatso.
Okay.
Toljue. Toljue.
Hell yeah.
Seen that one a lot. And then one of my newer favorites that I've been seeing that it's like, I don't think it's on the Fear Factory building, but it's like when you're driving on the freeway and around that area.
Yeah.
Huge on this like abandoned building. Anal. All caps. It's fucking awesome.
Love that. The place where I have a practice room, it's called Downtown Music in Salt Lake. There's like graffiti all over the walls and everything. And I do know there's one there. I don't know if it's the tag or if it's just like lettering that's written with all of like the art, but it says chef with the pot.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know.
I like that. Yeah. Tags are something that you see in most metropolitan areas. And it's something with a rich history rooted in East Coast underfunded neighborhoods, like many of our country's art revolutions. Tagging and graffiti have continued to be used as a form of rebellion, spreading messages of revolution, and as a way for people to leave their mark on society. Rumored to be the first person to start the tagging revolution is Daryl McCrae. He was staying at Philadelphia's Youth Development Center. This was a place for young people in the Philly area who were considered troublemakers to receive rehabilitation. I can't really speak to like whether this place did a good job of that or not. Probably not, but
knowing the history of places that do that.
Yeah, probably not good. But Also, I forgot to put this in my notes, but by the way, Daryl was 12 at the time. So,
Jesus.
Literally, this kid is fucking 12 years old, and they're like, go to this detention center thing.
Crazy.
Like, okay. So the walls of this center were covered in graffiti, mainly the names of gangs from around the city. And, you know, like, these kids, even in this development center, were getting involved with the gangs, with drugs, etc. So Daryl, he was lovingly nicknamed Cornbread by the chefs at YDC because of his love of cornbread. It reminded him of his home where his grandma would make him cornbread all the time. So he was constantly asking the chefs to make him cornbread. So they started calling him Cornbread. He loved this so much, and he wanted to make his own mark on the walls of the center that was something not gang related. And so he began tagging cornbread all over the walls, looking for any blank spot that hadn't already been covered up by gang tags. Once Cornbread was released, he took his tag to the streets of Philly, joining with two friends known by their tags as Cool Earl and Cool Klepto Kid, who followed in his footsteps and also began tagging their names all over the city. Soon these tags could be seen all over Philly, and others followed with their own tags, starting a movement across the East. Cornbread completed one of his most iconic tags when the local newspaper claimed that he'd been killed in a gang shooting, which he was not. He snuck into the Philadelphia Zoo and sprayed "Cornbread Lives" onto an elephant.
Whoa.
Which is just amazing.
That's hardcore as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume the elephant was fine, so like...
I'm sure it was fine.
It's just in a little paint.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
What?
I was gonna say, I like to think of just like the elephant just like chilling there, and he's like getting spray painted.
Yeah, and it's just like standing,
huh?
That doesn't even notice.
What?
Who's Cornbread?
Who the fuck?
He said, quote, "I knew it was up to me to bring my name back to life." Another famous writer, as these kids would call themselves, of this time was Talkie 183. In 1969, inspired by a tag that he had seen in his neighborhood that was Julio 204, Talkie combined his nickname and his street number to create his tag. Soon it became Talkie's mission to cover the city with his name, and according to him, he had pretty much accomplished it. Quote, "You could walk 40 blocks and see my name on every pole." He would purposefully go to kind of more affluent neighborhoods and tag his name all over there, knowing that like more tourists would come by there, and it just gets more foot traffic than like his smaller neighborhoods that you know there's not a lot of people there.
For sure.
Which is also kind of sick because it's like, you know, this kid from this underfunded neighborhood going into these affluent neighborhoods and being like, nah, I belong here too, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's sick. Tagging was a way for kids from these underfunded neighborhoods who had less opportunity for notoriety, not only due to their socioeconomic status, but also due to the racism of the 1960s, to get their name out into the world and to receive some kind of recognition. As Talkie put it, quote, "I don't normally feel like a celebrity, but the guys make me feel like one when they introduce me. This is him," they say. From Cornbread to Talkie 183, the tagging movement blew up, soon covering the cities of New York and Philadelphia and spreading throughout the East, making its way across the entire country. A great TV show to watch that kind of touches on this movement, I guess, and just like the hip-hop movement in general in the 60s and 70s is The Get Down. Unfortunately, fucking stupid Netflix canceled it.
Wow.
Of course.
Stupid Netflix.
Classic Netflix. But you get at least 2 good seasons out of it. And it like literally covers kind of like everything I'm talking about, but more. But they like talk about like how MCs became a thing, hip hop became a thing, sampling became a thing. It goes into like disco music, and it talks about like tagging in New York in this era and like why it was important. And it's just like theatrically very interesting to watch. Anyway.
Rad.
Phoebe's TV suggestion for you, because I'd be watching TV shows a lot.
Phoebe does be up on the TV show game heavy.
I just like TV shows.
Hey, no, there's no shame, no shame.
Yeah.
I watch 8-hour YouTube videos on dumb things I don't care about, so.
Exactly, and I fully support you in that.
Thank you. It's nice to be supported.
In New York City in the 1970s, writers began using the subway cars to spread their messages. The subways traveled all along New York City, meaning that if you were to get your tag up on a car, people from all around the city would see it because it's literally traveling throughout the whole city. So it's like literally
tag the whole city in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's almost like a traveling billboard of like, here's my name. Soon all of the subway cars in New York were covered in names and numbers of these graffiti writers. Lonnie Wood, who's known from his tag as Phase 2, is thought to be the first pioneer of the bubble style tag writing.
Oh, yeah.
Styles you may see more now that are less legible than these earlier tags. These are large, flashy, with many colors and different design elements. So, like, at first, with your cornbreads and your Takis, you were just kind of seeing, like, they were trying to make it as legible as possible because it was like, you need to know what my name is.
Yeah. Be able to be seen.
Exactly. But then, as, like, graffiti kind of started having a pushback from like the leaders of the city, they started like washing trying to get rid of the graffiti, and so people started pushing back with making it like more big and elaborate and all of these things. The development of these more elaborate tags really began to take off when Ed Koch, the mayor of New York City in the 70s and 80s, declared a war on graffiti. Ed was known for his controversial clashes with the black population in New York, frequently making decisions that further marginalized these groups and took funding away from poorer neighborhoods. Ed Koch is a fucking... He's a dude.
He's a fucking guy.
He certainly is a guy.
Also, fucking last name sounds like cock.
It does sound like cock.
Which is kind of like it's kind of disparaging to cock.
Yeah,
like the concept of cock,
Like, I don't really appreciate you talking about cock in that, like taking cock's name in vain.
The good name of cock, and just dragging it through the mud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he often like made these. He would be funding these programs that would like clean up these richer parts of the city, or develop things in richer parts of the cities, like, libraries and whatever the fuck, and literally basically using money that could have been going to these cities that have like nothing.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, so he sucks.
Yeah, no, sounds like mayor in the 1970s.
Yeah, 70s, 80s.
Yeah, sounds like something they would do.
Yeah, classic. Yeah, you know who doesn't suck?
Who? Please elaborate. Jesus Christ?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, facts, actually.
Jesus Christ doesn't suck. Also, when we were getting pizza the other day, we got pizza at this, it's called the Pie Hole. It's this, like, up by the college.
It's actually the Pie.
Oh, fuck, you're right. I got it mixed up. There's
two.
The Pie Hole and there's the Pie. So, Anyway, the Pie. It's up by the university, and so like all the walls are like drawn on. It's like part of the thing. And as we were walking in, our own little graffiti sighting for you guys, there was like an Among Us guy drawn on the wall, and then underneath it said G sus.
Yeah,
which was just really great.
Very, very fun. Very
loved that.
Yeah. Among Us. What a cultural touchstone that's become in like such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like how long has that game been out? Like 30 seconds?
I swear it came out in 2020.
Yeah, probably.
Didn't it?
Damn, so 2 years, but still.
Yeah, like that's not...
that was kind of prime time to have a game come out that
it was.
You play with your friends. So.
Yeah, and that was like, you could connect.
Yeah.
From far away.
And you could like access it so easy because it was like just on like your phone, Crazy.
You don't have to like buy it or anything.
Truly.
Anyway, let's all play. Sponsored by Among Us.
It's not sus. These ads. Ads. We're back. We're talking about how we don't need the French. Stop being French.
Yeah.
Don't deserve rights, mainly. And also how Phoebe's boy toy Daniel, mysterious podcast character Daniel.
Boy toy.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it felt right to say boy toy,
It's not that serious.
Yeah. Doesn't know anything about like pop culture.
No.
Very smart. Only knows ones and zeros.
References. Yeah. It's like so funny, but also you're like, baby, how do you not know this?
The other day, for reference listeners, he asked me what a Bohemian Rhapsody was. And we love you, Daniel. You know we do. You're not going to listen to this.
No. Also, yesterday, he literally, I think Justin was like, oh, do you know Amy Winehouse? And he was like, I feel like I've heard her name once or twice. And I'm like...
Once or twice, yeah. Yeah, it's like...
I mean, like, legend Amy Winehouse?
Yeah. Well, and it's wild to me because, like, I could see, like, one or two things, you know, like, oh, like, I just, you know, I've heard the name, but I just haven't ever listened to, like, the music or whatever. Like, I just have been preoccupied with other things. But, like, it's not just the Amy Winehouse. It's the Amy Winehouse and the Queen. Yeah. And the Ariana Grande.
Yeah. And Prince.
And the Prince.
There's Prince,
like,
also.
I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know who, like, Michael Jackson was. Like, like it's all of them added together where you're like, what have you been doing? Sounds like we're being mean, but we would say all of this to his face.
Oh, and we have.
And we have. Maybe that makes us more mean. I don't know.
Maybe. Listen, I love him with all of my heart.
Yeah, your whole ass. My whole ass heart
and my whole ass, too.
the entire thing, actually.
Every part, every piece.
True. Anyway.
No, real talk. He's great. Anyway, getting back into this, talking more shit on Ed Koch. So when Ed Koch took office in New York City was experiencing blackouts, looting, and a financial crisis. Shit was, like, really going fucking crazy at this time. Again, watch The Get Down. They really do a great job of showing you all of this. Finger guns to the mic. Watch The Get Down. Force Netflix to give us a third season. God
bullying Netflix. Bully Netflix into bringing back shows that are good.
Yes.
And bully Netflix into not continuing shows that are bad.
Yes.
Like,
which they love to do.
Or, you know, and not even shows that are bad, but, like, don't make a show bad by continuing it. Like,
exactly.
Cut Stranger Things off after season 2. And make better shows.
Okay, and if I can just go off for a second.
Please.
Sorry about Stranger Things. Listen. I think it's great. It's really fun. The characters are awesome. You know, cute plot line. Has it been done before so many times? Yes.
100%.
Absolutely. Do we kind of, like, literally the last season, I was like, we're good now. Like, that ended in a very, like, conclusive way. Like, we're set. And I'm just like, especially right now on Twitter, people will not shut the fuck up about Stranger Things. And I'm like, if we could get people as, like, hype about Netflix's shows that are, like, actually, like, really good and really well written and an original story, we could have so much good TV.
True.
But y'all won't let go of Stranger Things. Let it die.
This is your fault.
It was great. It was fun. We had a good time together.
We had a romp.
It
was good. It's not. You can remember it fondly.
Yeah.
But you need to move on.
Yeah. Let her lie.
Let her go. If you love something, set it free.
Exactly.
True.
Well said.
And leave it, you know, like, leave it. So Netflix will make a thing. Sorry, I'm also going off.
No, I love it.
Netflix will make a thing, and that thing will be good. And then once that thing is over, that's when Netflix should move on to making more good things. And that's when the fan fiction writers come in.
Yes.
And they take and continue that good thing.
And you get like so much more out of it that way. You get
so many gay scenes from characters that have never met. Yeah.
Like, y'all are all wanting fucking Eddie and Steve to bang. They can in the world of fan fiction.
And they already have. I guarantee it.
I'm sure
Rule 34
so
for
many.
fan fiction.
I'm sure there is so many.
Anyway, sorry for the tangent.
No, I listen, I get mad about Netflix's cancellation policies here. Bring back the OA. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so yeah, New York was shit was happening. Everything was crazy. So when campaigning, Ed claims that he would take down the gangs and the criminals and he would put New York, quote, back into the hands of the politicians, which I was like, wow. Is that supposed to make me want to vote for you?
Yeah, no, for sure. So he basically says, we're going to take the city from the criminals and put it into the hands of the criminals, but they're just in suits.
Yeah, exactly. Straight up.
Criminals, but richer.
Yes. Graffiti, in Ed's eyes, was a symbol of the crime problems in New York. He began a program to whitewash the graffiti off all the New York subway cars, and if the cars hadn't been whitewashed, the program was called Run Clean. They wouldn't run until they had been completely cleaned, which I'm sure was really, really good for people that rely on public transportation.
Absolutely, yeah. No, that definitely sounds...
Just, like, not run a subway because it has graffiti.
It's like he's doing the whole, like, don't give them what they want. He's, like, trying to, like, not get the reaction out of them, and it's like, what the fuck do you mean? I don't know.
You're causing so much trouble in the fucking way of this
ecosystem of, like, how a city works.
Idiot. Anyway. So this, of course, only fueled the flame of the writers and sparked an all-out war between the politicians and the graffiti writers. When the cars were whitewashed, this just became even more enticing to writers, as these cars were now an entirely fresh canvas for new tags.
True.
So it just, because it's like, you know, after years of this tagging thing going on, it's like layers and layers and layers, and so people wanting to put a fresh one on are kind of just going over top of other ones. It doesn't stand out as much. So then when you have a brand new, fresh, white fucking subway car, you're like, hell yeah!
You're like, fuck yeah, brother.
So eventually Ed caught on to the idea that the writers were tagging the trains in the night when the subways weren't running and they were back at the train yards. And so soon he put up large barbed wire fences to keep out the writers. However, when this...
flexing his giant cotch.
Yeah, exactly. When this was not enough, because, like, it's pretty easy to get through like a chain link fence, Ed proposed the idea of bringing wild wolves to these train yards to protect the subway cars. Wild wolves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I have a few questions.
Hit me.
So he wants to put wild wolves.
Mm-hmm.
How so? Is his and again, I know this didn't go through because of probably the same exact questions I have.
Yeah.
How did he plan on? So when after the wild wolves are released, how did he plan on retracting the wild wolves when someone needs to actually access the train yard, like legally?
Right. Sure, he didn't think that one through.
Like, how do you because similarly to like a Pandora's box situation,
right? When
you let out wild wolves, you don't bring back in the wild wolves. The wild wolves are out of
they're wild
of the perpetual bag. The perpetual wild wolf cat is out of the proverbial bag at that point. What a guy.
Yeah. So here's what he had to say about this plan. And maybe this will answer your questions. Probably not.
Probably not. But
he said, quote, "Put in wolves because there's no reported case of a wolf in the wild ever attacking a human in North America. It's happened elsewhere, but not in North America," he said originally. Then later on, he said, "Now, I tell this story to the reporters, and Clyde Haberman comes in the next day and says, 'I checked your story in the library, and I found it's not totally true.' He said that it is true that no wolf in the wild has attacked a human being in North America," which even I don't think that's true, but okay. "But domesticated wolves that people have attacked. But I was only talking about wild wolves. I wasn't talking about domesticated wolves. My position is, if you put the wolf in, after a certain period of time, he becomes domesticated, so then you replace him. You bring in a new wild one."
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So firstly, he is under the impression that no wolves have ever attacked a person in the
wild
continent of North America, which I really don't think is true. Which I think he means maybe like in this, like not in the forests, like in like cities.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's true, but like there's a reason why wolves don't live in cities, Ed. And then he's saying that like, so now this guy tells him, oh, well, you know, people in North America have been attacked, you know, in cities have been attacked, but it's because they like captured a wolf and brought it into the city.
Domesticated the wolf.
So then he goes, oh, so it's just, I'm sorry I have to break this down, but it's just so funny to me. So he's going like, oh, cool. So domesticated wolves are the ones that bite. So when I bring wild wolves into the city, eventually they become domesticated because they live in the city, and that's when they'll attack people. So then once they do that, we'll just get a new one that's wild that would totally never ever attack or bite anyone.
So it seems like he thinks that like the fact that a wolf is wild and not domesticated makes it not bite.
Yes.
Which is not what the statistic is saying.
No.
It's just saying that a wolf in the wild hasn't at this point because it's never gotten the chance to.
Right.
Bite a
Because why would it like come down to the city?
Exactly. It's in the fucking forest.
Like if you go into the forest and you're bothering a wolf, it's probably going to attack you. But then when people take wolves that are wild and they bring them into their homes, the wolves attack them because they're wolves.
They're fucking wolves. No, I'm glad you broke that down to really demonstrate how fucking stupid this guy is.
And this is just like a primo example of how he was running things at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this was an obviously crazy plan, and it was luckily shut down by the people surrounding Ed, who instead brought in German shepherds to protect these train yards, which there was like a really cute little article that I came across that it was like, you know, the New York Times will like publish like older articles, and anyway, so you can see them online, and it was about how one of the one of the dogs got pregnant and had babies, and he was like, now that's productivity. He was like so proud of the train yard wolf for having babies. I mean, dog, whatever. Anyway, so the entire project for just one train yard cost $1.5 million for the barbed wire fences and $18,000 a year to sustain the dogs. Ed wanted to expand this program to all 21 yards in New York City.
So very expensive. And again, might we add the money that could be being spent on, I don't know, literally anything else?
Like public school, you know, helping the public schools in these underfunded cities, like helping, you know, blackouts stop happening, things like that. I'm just going to do the math RQ. Let's see, 18,000.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else I can think would be a better use of that money.
So we're looking at like 21 point something million for the fences and $378,000 for the dogs. Per year.
Year.
Yeah.
Wow. My tax, I mean, I don't live there, so it's not my tax dollars, but as a citizen, my tax dollars always feel like they're going to such good, productive parts of society.
Yeah. Which also was probably really fun for the people living in these underfunded communities who were the ones like doing this tagging. And it was like, hey man, instead of doing this, why don't you just like let the tags exist and like fund like the trains so you can have better trains. True. I don't know. Anyway, you know, so here he is once again funneling public money into something largely inconsequential in solving any of the actual issues that bred crime in New York, which was, of course, neighborhoods that were receiving these low funding, and so had to kind of create these new networks in order to make money, which then leads to the drug dealing and the formation of gangs. But of course, Mr. Koch is never going to actually look at the true root of these issues.
Crazy old white guy not understanding a different culture and you know, art of like a younger generation and wanting to remove it at any cost.
And also like a culture that it's like, you made this. You made it this 100% way, 100%
helped create this.
So it is rumored that in New York, wolves were actually brought in, and that several tourists taking the subway late at night were snatched up by these wolves.
Sick.
This is kind of just urban legend, but I thought this was really funny. Statues created by the Mayor Ed Koch Wolf Foundation serve as an homage to these missing tourists, and as a reminder to stay out of local parks come dusk. Another really funny piece of this was that, like, so it's like each year in New York, a handful of tourists will just go missing due to whatever the fuck. But the NYPD really loves to just blame it on these, like, supposed
mysterious wolves.
Yeah, which it's like, I wonder.
I feel like we could make a really good, like, bad, campy horror movie about the, like, subway wolves of New York.
That would be awesome.
Ooh, like a horror musical. Subway wolves of New York, darling.
So whether or not the stories of wolves breeding and living in New York subway tunnels are real, these statues remind us of the chaos of the 1970s and 80s in New York and the continued criminalization of marginalized communities by Mayor Ed Koch, who was so concerned with making New York's upper and middle classes comfortable with using the subway that he proposed releasing wild wolves into the city to ward off and possibly murder these artists.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Love it. Love. Really good.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Good dude. Good
Solid.
mayor. Great mayor. That
chef's kiss mayor there. Oh God. Anyway, was that all? That was the whole thing? Conclusive. All right. Well, you know what won't release wild wolves into train cars to kill young, impoverished taggers?
Hopefully not Anchor.
I'm pretty sure not.
I don't.
Anchor.
Yeah, I don't know that they have like access to wild wolves.
I don't know. Anchor's got some pretty like big hands. You know, like they have some pretty big. They have their hands are in a lot of pockets. I feel like if we could pull some strings, we could get access to some wild wolves.
Oh, I kind of want one.
I think it would be kind
Based on that whole story, I think it actually is really good and cool to own a wild wolf.
Yeah. Well, because I don't know if you caught this, Phoebe, but while it's wild, it won't bite you.
Exactly.
But once it does get domesticated, then you will have to get rid of it.
Right. And that's totally fine. So it's just like once I notice the wolf is like listening to me and you know, obeying my commands and everything, get rid of it, throw it out onto, I don't know, streets of New York or something.
Yeah.
Get myself a new wolf that is wild, fully wild.
Exactly. Yeah. Once it starts like using like a knife and a soup spoon for dinner, like
that's
once
when
it's
you know
like
it
very
is
like proper.
Time.
Yeah, you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
Yeah. When it sets up for dinner parties and it puts a napkin ring, you're like,
yeah, exactly. Once it breaks out the doilies, this game fucking over, dude.
Yeah.
At that point, you gotta run. Anyway. And wow. We're so fucking back.
Oh my God.
Like, it's unhinged how fucking back we are. Holy shit. Yeah.
Whoa.
So, obviously, y'all just heard Phoebe tell us about the lovely, or not so lovely, Ed Koch. I'm going to be talking about the Arab Spring, baby. Woo. So, to start our story off here, the Arab Spring was a sequence of anti-government uprisings that began in Tunisia. From Tunisia, the revolutionary sentiment spread to 5 other nations: Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Syria, and Bahrain. Bahrain, yeah. Again, I apologize. I'm sure I will butcher some of the pronunciations in this, but I'm here to try my best. There were smaller demonstrations in many other countries in that region as well, but those 5 had like the biggest revolutions that happened. The first Tunisian protest was kicked off when Mohamed Bouazizi, I think, a 27-year-old street vendor, set himself on fire on December 17th, 2010.
Jesus Christ.
Not only is this seen as the event that kicked off the Arab Spring, but also has become a symbol of fighting oppression. Bouazizi is still alive, but obviously, of course, lives with severe burns.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is still alive.
Damn.
And his like reasoning behind it was the police would consistently like give him shit for trying to be a street vendor. And I guess he like didn't have the proper permits, but he also would never make enough money to like bribe the police to like let him do it, you know?
Right.
So it was just like, yeah, this whole thing. But we are going to primarily be focusing on Egypt today. Our story takes us back to January 25th of 1952. On this day in Egyptian history, 50 police officers and many more were wounded for refusing to hand over weapons and evacuate the Ismailia police station for the British. In 2009, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, I'm not sure, declared January 25th a holiday known as Police Day.
Sheesh.
Yeah, for sure. By the 23rd of July, 1952, the revolution was in full force at that time. Again, this is a separate revolution from the Arab Spring, but there was a revolution that happened in January against like British and imperialist occupation and rule. The revolution was in full force by the Free Officers Movement. This movement was a group of military officials that were rebelling against King Farouk. This spawned many revolutions in the same area that aligned with what came to be called the Third World Solidarity kind of movement. Basically, like countries that are called Third World, which I know that's not like a commonly used term anymore, but at the time, called Third World being like, hey, we're fucking not down with this imperialist bullshit. It was, and then they were also resisting like influence from the U.S. and the Soviet Union during the Cold War, because you know we did a lot of imperialism at the time. The Soviet Union did it as well in some ways. So there is, of course, a long history of how the newly found government of the country became the more modern, corrupt government, and kind of that over that span of time from that 1952 revolution to the 2011 revolution. But that's a story for a different day. But if you'd like to hear me go more into that, let us know on the Insta or the Twitter, because I will for sure do a big Egypt episode if y'all want to hear it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But yeah, so that brings us to Police Day 2011. So January 25th, 2011 was when the Egyptian revolution truly took off. Many people on this specific day gathered to protest the corruption and police brutality that was common among the Egyptian authorities underneath Hosni Mubarak's, again, I don't know, government. The protests included demonstrations, civil disobedience, and strikes. The protests did result in 846 people being killed and nearly 6,000 injured. So, police brutality, for sure. Very cool and good.
Absolutely.
But we're going to jump into some of the artwork, because around this time, specifically on one of the streets, I think it's Mohammed Mahid Street or something like that, there was tons of street art that was drawn around basically saying what the revolution was all about. So we're going to go through some of it.
Yay.
Because it's pretty dope. This first one is called Palace Walk, and I'm going to let Phoebe view it. Again, you can look all of these up if you want to view them, and they'll be on our Instagram.
Yes.
So, word. You want to describe it, maybe?
Okay, so it's on like a little wall on the street. There's the biggest piece in it is this woman in her, I don't know exactly like what kind of covering it is, but like a habibi or something. And then she's surrounded by all of these other different people in like long robe-like clothing.
For sure. So, and this is a quote from culturetrip.com. The image is showing one of Najib's Mahfouz, again, I'm so sorry, Palace Walk characters, Amina, who in, I guess, this Palace Walk, I think it's a poem or like a novella of sorts, represents the submission to the patriarchy. The figure of Amina is surrounded by women who represent the complete opposite, like Latifa El Zayat, Kulthum, and Nefereti. So basically, like the woman, the big woman there is like a character being like submit to the patriarchy, but then all the women that are like drawn around her are like very pro-feminist. Feminist movement, I guess. So it's kind of like a juxtaposition piece of artwork there. So cool.
Very cool.
Sorry, I don't know if like maybe I'm being a little too segmented in this.
No.
Different, but
which like she the Amina you said was like the main woman. She has like her hair covered and everything, and the other women do not have covers. Yeah. So
I think it was like a little protest, and I assume that again, I didn't look too much into the Palace Walk, like the actual where that's from, the poem or novella or whatever it is, but I assume it was like, pro, like submit to your husband, submit to the men in authority kind of vibes. So, which, don't do that. The next one we have is called Don't Forget. This one's not too gnarly to explain, but...
Yeah, it's a man holding up a piece of paper with, like, Arabic writing, and he looks very forlorn.
So this painting shows one of the revolutionary martyrs who died in the violence between police and protesters. On the piece of paper he is holding, it states his name and death date on it, or on the paper. And next, in the text beneath him says, "Don't forget why I died."
Oh, shit.
So very profound.
Yeah.
This not only being a rallying cry for the current protesters to continue the fight, but also a way to immortalize and remember this man and countless others who lost their lives in this revolution. And it's crazy because the Arab Spring, at least the revolution in Egypt, it didn't particularly last like super long. Like it was just a couple of months, kind of BLM 2020 protest time frame. But so like they were putting this art up real quick. Like kind of became this big like cultural thing where everybody was just painting on the fucking walls. Like super cool. The next one I included, the next one I included because it's similar to the name of our series.
Oh.
It is called Revolution is Art.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. This photo depicts, I must have not saved this one. Let me find it. While I'm pulling it up, this photo depicts a rebel dancing along with a ballerina. Of course, symbolizing the impact that art can have on a revolution and a movement, but also showing the need for art to be present to bring together the members of an oppressed group to fight the injustices around them. And then we'll get into this a little bit more because I have more stuff about the revolution after we go through the art. But a lot of people were saying like a lot of it, like the art was how people were like communicating during this time, like being like, this shit's happening even though like the media isn't reporting on it, you know? Almost like a Twitter situation during like the 2020 BLM protests. Where people were like, look at what the fuck's going on. Because no one else is talking about it. It's crazy. But yeah, let me find this one really quick.
Yeah, it was interesting too. I feel like we were seeing like, and really with like any sort of like graffiti street art thing, it's like communicating, what's actually going on, communicating ways to rebel. Like I saw tons of graffiti in 2020 that was like talking about like, when you go out, black bloc, bring these kinds of things, whatever, like telling people like how to protest basically. Yeah,
for sure. Well, and I think like it's just interesting
that's really pretty
because it's just kind of going right to the source of like the, because again, like a lot of times there's of course always going to be like people who make art that don't have the same experiences and stuff, but like a lot of times especially with like revolutionary art, like it's coming directly from the people that are in whatever scenario being like oppressed and are trying to rebel.
Right, exactly. And it's like you're not having to experience it through channels of like it's not in a gallery and it's not like whatever, because at the time when these kind of things are happening, this kind of art isn't going to be in galleries because it's like too controversial or it's too like true, or the people don't have access to put that kind of art into a gallery.
True. And I feel like that's a big one, is like it's a way of getting it. I mean, same with like the tagging stuff you were talking about, like a way of getting it out there, because it's like, these people in this revolution, or the people you were talking about, like they don't have the connections and the resources to get their artwork or their name or whatever it is that they're trying to portray in these bigger spaces. So it's like they literally have to take to the streets and be like writing it around, It's crazy. This next one's called You Are Half the Society. I'm going to read this while you look at it. This mural has some text, and I believe that the text translates, at least loosely, to, there is wisdom and intelligence that lies beneath the beauty. You, the woman, are half of the society. Yeah. And it has like a couple of like the same portrait of women across the wall there. So kind of cool. Again, another feminist piece, which I know is a very big, or can be a very big struggle over in Middle Eastern countries with, with just gender equality. It can be kind of a gnarly thing over there. The next one we have is called Silence is Not for Us. This depicts a rebel who has lost an eye, or is at least wearing an eye patch, and seems to be screaming. The text next to the rebel says, "Silence is not for us," which is a very profound one here. I'm sure I don't have to explain too much about what's going on here, but very good. Very poignant, I feel like, in this one. Not to sound too art critic-y. Very poignant message. I have two more. We have Rebels Don't Die as the next piece. And again, these will all be on the Instagram. I personally like this one. I think it's very simple. There's a rebel or a protester being shot, but the caption says, "Rebels Don't Die." I think personally this is referring to the fact that somebody who has made a sacrifice like that to a cause of a revolution will forever live on in the history and the spirit of that revolution. I don't know. Maybe it's a little corny and sentimental, but that's what I think it's kind of going for.
I like that.
Pretty cool. And the last one we have is Paintbrush Fight. At least that's what I labeled it. I don't think this one has a title. You see a painter fighting off a police officer armed with mace with his paintbrush. You can also see a line of police officers with ACAB listed on their chests, right underneath images of Egyptian leaders, which I think one of those was the president, Mubarak. I don't remember his name. But yes. So again, a lot of violence going on at this time, especially in, again, those 5 countries, and Egypt in particular. So lots of street art going around. A DW article I found has an interview with one of the men, Ganzir, who was making street art at the time. Some of his responses remind me, again, of like some of the issues that were going on in the 2020 BLM protests. Here's a quote from him in the article. According to him, at the beginning of the protests, the media was responsible for creating a very strong divide, communicating the idea that the people in Tahrir, so sorry everyone, Tahrir, were just a few aimless thugs who didn't know what they wanted and were part of a conspiracy theory. So again, very much kind of how the media was making out.
Yeah.
I mean, in most revolutionary situations, how the media makes out protesters.
Yeah, like they were saying, like, it's Antifa.
Everything was Antifa.
Yeah.
And the anarchists. Those crazy anarchists. So it goes on to say that a lot of the street art was how people were communicating the truth of the situation with other protesters and folks who wanted to know what was going on. Kind of what I was talking about before, and how bad the corruption truly was. So like in some cases, like, yeah, this was like how people were like finding out about what the fuck was going on, or even what the protests were all about. The largest concentration of political street art was probably in Cairo on Muhammad Mahmud. Yeah, Mahmud is the right name. Muhammad Mahmud Street. It became a symbolic battleground between protesters and police. Though in recent years, as the new Egyptian government has regained its control, it has become more and more difficult to paint on the streets. So they've kind of cracked down on a lot of the street art. I'm not sure if the situation in Egypt has improved since the protests, or like what the corruption situation is like. But the strides made by the protesters in the Arab Spring are still a victory, to be celebrated nonetheless. The president, let me find his name again, Mubarak, did resign. Yeah, on February 11th, Mubarak did resign, and Egypt became controlled by the military until June of 2012, when Mohammed Moriah of the Muslim Brotherhood would be elected. And of course, with any kind of government, he faced his own set of controversies and oppositions. But again, that is a story for another time. And yeah, that pretty much
lovely
covers everything that I was talking about.
Fascinating.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Kind of quirky.
But yeah, definitely check our Instagram because I'll make sure. Well, yes. Phoebe will make sure that all those are posted. Phoebe does the Insta.
I do.
But yeah, no, really, really interesting to look at. A lot of them are just like really well done too, like street art and paintings. I think it's kind of cool. So I would suggest it, and I'm sure you can look up a bunch of the street art on like the internet too, because there's plenty of articles and things talking about it. So, but
yeah, I think too, like look into your own local street art and like what's happening with that, because we have some amazing, like we have, you know, the murals down on like 900 South that was like, I think the person is still anonymous. It was like this anonymous street artist who like put it up in the middle of the night one night. It started with just George Floyd, and then it became a mural of like all of these local people that had been killed by police. We have like a really cool local kind of like I guess like screen printing shop, and they'll do these posters that pertain to, you know, whatever the protest was about at the time, or just kind of these like revolutionary messages, which is very cool.
Oh, for sure. And again, I think that art is such a cool way to like get a message out there. Not even just like street art, but any kind of art. Truth. Music and everything. But that's why we do this fucking series, I guess, because it's like usually, in my experience, again, unless it's like bad corporate, like corporate shell, I don't know what the right word is, bad corporate art that like is, you know, a horse made of dots or something. Like like normally art usually reflects like a revolutionary struggle, at least in most cases. I feel like the best art comes from that kind of struggle. It's true. But yeah, kind of sick, kind of rad, kind of dope. Nasty. Jinx. You owe me. Owe me a Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. An Edward Coca-Cola.
Exactly.
Fuck yeah. Well, Taylor, where can I tweet you about my local street art?
You can tweet at us at remarkspod on twitter.com. Please leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts. You can check me out. My name's Taylor Lacey in full. You can look up my music.
It's all about the revolution, baby.
All about, going on for the art. I sing about it. So you can check it out. It's kind of yeehawy, which I think is cool.
It's very good. You can look at pictures of this stuff on our Instagram, which is at Remarks Podcast. You can watch some TikToks at the same handle, which is at Remarks Podcast. And you can follow our Patreon. Our page, which we just posted some new bonus episodes too.
As we do. Let me pull up our patrons. Patrons. And you might want to hop on the Patreon game, because pretty soon we may or may not be in the process of releasing some new merch. So
little secret taste for you.
Secret. Yeah, and you'll for sure get it first if you're on the page.
Exactly.
So. But yeah, big thank to our patrons. We got Justin Vass.
We have Tere Soltero.
We have Emily Doran.
And Andrew Vass.
Woo-hoo.
Thanks, you cool little guys.
Truly. But yeah, big ups to y'all.
Yeah.
As they say.
Fucking salt of the earth. Right there.
True.
I've never understood how that's a compliment.
I don't really know either.
So I feel like salting the earth means you can't grow stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe it's like... Maybe we should like update it for more of like a modern, like you're the salt of the tequila shot or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the only part of, well, I mean, I guess I like lime, but the salt is the best part of the tequila shot.
It's true.
Tequila is the worst part.
Yeah.
I do be hating me some tequila.
I don't really, it's rough. I do love a tequila sunrise though. Those are good.
Yeah, those are all right.
Those are very good.
I love a good sex on the beach as well.
Oof, yeah. God, does that slap. Both the drink and the act.
True. A little sandy, the act itself.
Yeah.
And
dangerous. Be careful.
Maybe the drink might be a little sandy too. Who knows?
Could be. Sprinkle a little sand in there for flavor.
To get the real, like, intercourse on the shore experience.
Exactly. As Harry Styles once said, choke her with a sea view.
True.
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
Thanks for listening. Okay, love you.
Bye.